Good morning, Bix. We're road2road.com with your morning horn of Z's, your sip of coffee. I don't have any. I already drank it. Couple things I want to talk about before I get going. My buddy, my boy, Dick Allgaier and his gang of remote viewers just did an amazing remote viewing of Los Angeles. I highly recommend joining crypto viewing just for this. Now, there's plenty on there to watch. Remember, keep in mind on these are people interpreting what they remote view and see. I don't always disagree. I don't always agree. Mostly, I agree with what they see. I have my own interpretation based on Road to Roota. But this is a really good one, and if you're interested in what's going to happen in the future, check this out. So go to crypto viewing and join crypto viewing. I think it's the $10 level. Pretty sure $10, $9.97. These guys are awesome. But go check it out. Unbelievable one. You would not. I mean, just for this one, but you get access to everything. They remote view the dog. Well, no, I don't think everything. I think there's different tiers. Check that out. But you get access to this one, which is really cool. And then the one on the Grand Canyon and the US dollar, all kinds of good ones. So definitely my boys crypto viewing. Keep up the good work and join their Patreon. Now let's talk about cryptocurrencies. What's happening? Oh my God, the price is going down. I've said it a million times. I'll say it one more time. The prices you see on these exchanges are derivative prices of cryptocurrencies. They're not the real price of cryptocurrencies. Why are the prices going down? Because they're being shorted by the big money that needs to get in. They don't buy on these exchanges. They buy in the OTC market, over the counter, private deals, things like that. The question is, why are these people, the whales, selling? Why would anybody sell at these artificially suppressed prices unless they don't understand how these markets work? Just look at the volumes, my friends. Look at the volumes of all cryptocurrencies. Litecoin is my favorite. $3.26 billion worth of Litecoin was traded in the last 24 hours. In the history of Litecoin, only 4.1 billion worth of coins have been created. And people say, no, they just double up trades because of the fees. No. That's part of it. It is not all of it. They high frequency trade. They sell coins they don't have. They manipulate markets. The exchanges are in on it. Just keep an eye on that. And remember, it's artificially suppressing the price. They do the same thing in silver. How do you think JP Morgan bought up 600 million ounces of physical silver when the price didn't rise, went down? Because they know the COMEX and the LBMA, the prices that are shown to the public are fake. They can suppress those prices while getting the real thing. That's what's going on right now. And at some point, the guys with the real thing are going to say, hey, we've had enough of this bullshit. Bang. They're going to rip the shorts out. They're going to rip everybody out of their position. The traders, the expert traders who said, oh my God, we broke this support level, it's going to go down, are going to lose their shirts, and that's how they get fleeced. So get your cryptos, get them in your own possession. This will all end with the crash of the system. All this bullshit from these exchanges on cryptocurrencies, gold and silver, stock market, bond market, oil market, will all end with the crash of the global financial system, which we are getting closer and closer to. Okay. Some of you wanted me to comment on the IRS letter saying, hey, if you've been involved in, we know you're involved in cryptocurrencies, you need to pay your taxes. Yes, it is a scare tactic, but no, I don't give advice on what to do with the IRS, because I know the IRS will do anything they freaking want. And they'll make examples of people. Here's an article written by this guy, John J. Singleton, saying, oh, you don't have to pay anything to the IRS. And he runs a crypto IRA company that it's not self-directed, so they hold the crypto for you. Holy moly, who would give this kind of advice? They are insane. Have they never heard of the IRS? Yeah. I don't give any IRS advice other than tell people I trade my cryptos in a self-directed IRA, so I don't have to pay tax until, no matter what the IRS comes up with as far as taxation, which they really haven't. I won't have to pay tax until I pull out my retirement. And if you want more information on that, call Will Lair at Perpetual Assets, perpetualassets.com. Call Will, and he can help you roll over your IRA into a self-directed IRA so you can trade cryptos in it in your own possession. That's the key, in your own possession. But no, nobody should be giving advice on what the IRS thinks or wants or does, because the IRS is criminal. They will go after you. If you poke the IRS, they're going to poke back. So this guy's crazy, if you ask me. He's saying the IRS can't go after you because no 1099s were given. The IRS can do whatever the frick they want, and always have shown that. So my advice is, don't listen to this guy. Absolutely. This is a personal decision for you. If you want to buck the IRS, again, the IRS can do anything they want. Still, I do believe that after the crash, there will be no IRS, which would be great. And then we can move forward in a clean system. But right now, this guy's crazy for saying, don't pay your taxes. Again, self-directed IRA, you can defer it. IRS has no real guidance on other than saying all cryptocurrencies, they're lumping them all into the same thing, calling it all capital gains because that's where they get their money. So yes, absolutely, it is a scare tactic to get you to pay, but it doesn't mean they won't go after you. So everybody has to make their own decision. Don't listen to anybody who says buck the IRS with a B. That's up to you. That's a personal decision. All right. Now, I want to talk about the coming crash of the system. I have posted on the Road to Roota Patreon channel the third update in the timeline series. So I've got 2 timeline videos and 3 updates now, and more things are pointing to exactly when I was talking about. So go check it out. Join the Patreon. It's worth it. All kinds of good stuff. I have an update on Veritasium there from yesterday. Really interesting stuff. I hear now they're going to give Reggie a little more money so he can pay his rent. These people at the SEC are criminal. Absolutely. Hopefully Reggie's going to get out of this clean, probably some settlement, but I would hope even more that he sues the crap out of the SEC and the individuals in charge, which their names are on all the documents. You can find out who they are and their emails. So feel free to send them many emails just raging about what they're doing to Reggie and Veritasium, something that can help us in the future when these criminal banks go down and take out, literally, they can take out the SEC. And that's probably what the SEC is all scared about. They're going to lose their cushy SEC jobs. I call them cushy jobs, not because they get paid a lot of money, but because they're guaranteed big money in the private sector when they leave. They only stay for a couple years. The head of the crypto division, the IRS or the SEC crypto division, the head of that division just left to go to a cushy job. It is a revolving door that should be illegal. And that guy needs to be called out. And any crypto company that hires that guy, the guy from the SEC who ran the division who just left, should be called out also. And I will be calling out him. Whoever he joins, that crypto company, do not hire that guy. Do not hire him. I'll get you names and addresses. Not addresses. I'm not going to dox anybody. I'm going to get you his name so that you can look out for him. Because we don't want criminal regulators moving into cryptos like it has already happened from the New York, the licensing commission or whatever. The guy who invented the rules is now advising cryptocurrency companies, revolving door, making a ton of money. It is complete bullshit, and they need to be called out. All right, let's talk about the crash. So when I was with Cliff High, one of the things he said, I'm like, oh, well, how are these bailouts even possible? And one of the scenarios he laid out was, well, the IMF would come in to take over the derivatives and the debt of countries, which has been done in the past. And I'm like, in the scenario that I'm looking at, the crashing of the derivative bubble, the loss of faith in our leaders, I don't think that kind of bailout is even possible. And I think I'm going to get that one right when it comes to the IMF. because right now we are witnessing a potential bailout of a country, Argentina. So here's an article from and by the IMF and other creditors. If Argentina goes and that debt goes again, poof, goodbye banks, goodbye derivatives. I'm just saying. So here's the article. Argentina proposes IMF humiliating debt reprofile as it soft defaults for the 9th time since its independence. Less than a week after we suggested the IMF is in for humiliation over the collapse of Argentina, just months after its unprecedented $56 billion liquidity crisis bailout, it appears the South American nation is set to default for the 9th time since its independence in 1816. Amid a 20% crash in the peso and a collapse in government bonds, which pushed the implied risk of default above 80%, IMF delegates arrived in Argentina on Saturday, and as Bloomberg reports, immediately began meetings with policymakers, facing a deja vu choice from 2 decades ago: risk making the turmoil even worse by withholding a $5.3 billion installment due next month, or cough it up and risk even more losses with the IMF bailout program on the verge of collapse. Quote, the IMF has put a lot in, not just money, but prestige, says Hector Torres, a former executive director at the fund who represented South American countries. The fact that the arrangement is not performing well right now is an embarrassment, he said, and the September installment is going to be a difficult call. Then earlier today, things got worse as Argentina bond spreads widened to the most in 14 years after opposition leader Alberto Fernandez ripped the debt-laden country's accord with the IMF. Fernandez said much of the IMF loan has been wasted on financing capital flight out of the country. Absolutely. The IMF is bailing countries out so the big money can get out. Otherwise, the big money would be sit there holding the bag. IMF is a complete revolving door. It's not bailing out Argentina. The IMF is bailing out the investors in Argentina, and it is just absolutely backfiring. In a statement following a meeting with the IMF officials, Fernandez says he agreed with the objectives of the IMF deal, but added the IMF and the current government generated the current crisis and are now responsible for reversing the social catastrophe. Socialism doesn't work, it fails every time. Come on, people. Argentina has struggled to roll over the debt in the wake of a stunning loss in a primary for the market-friendly government coalition. And now tonight, according to the statement from the finance ministry, Argentina seeks to reprofile $57 billion debt owed to private holders and the IMF. Reprofile is a public relations-friendly way of saying soft default. But the ministry was quick to explain that there's no haircut nor change to interest paid. It is important to highlight that this is only an adjustment of maturities. The proposal is that Argentina will delay payments of $7 billion in short-term debt. Argentina will pay 15% of its debt at maturity. It will pay 25% of its debt 3 months after maturity, and 60% of its debt will be paid 6 months after maturity. So they're trying to stretch it out so they don't have to default now. Let's just stretch out the pain. The government will continue to pay interest on short-term debt. Now, all this is basically the bankers' money. The IMF is in there to bail out the banks, not the people of Argentina. And we'll see congressional authorization to launch a voluntary reprofiling of debt maturing between 2020 and 2023. Reprofiling is a stupid word. It is a default and restructure. Contract terms are set in stone. If you miss those contract terms, it is a restructure. You are not living up to what you're doing. That's the default. And then you have a restructure. Now, the credit default swaps are going to have a problem with this new word, reprofiling, because Life Masters didn't add that to her jargon at the ISDA. And that's the body that determines what a default is and whether or not credit default swaps are paid out. And that's the whole idea here, is to try to get around the credit default swaps that people have bought because they have debt with Argentina that is failing. Again, it all gets back to derivatives these days. Call it what you want, but foreign currency reserves have plummeted more than $10 billion in the last month as policymakers sought to shore up the peso at the primary on August 11th. Tens of thousands of people marched through the streets today to demand the government do more and to mitigate the impact of the economic crisis in a country that has defaulted on its debt 8 times since independence from Spain. But as we noted last week, while creditors will be hit, it will be the ordinary Argentinian citizens that will be crushed. Ordinary Argentines also have traumatic memories of failed IMF programs. Many blame the fund for epic collapse 2 decades ago. One reason why Macri's decision to go to the IMF last year was so risky, and now they're having to go back. This is failing miserable. The IMF is a bunch of criminal bankers who look to... Whoa. Just had a major attack on my computer system. Everything crashed. Everything. It's 5 minutes later than when this video just stopped. Crazy. Just because I'm talking about the IMF? I don't know. That's conspiracy theory, Bex. Yeah, why doesn't it happen when I'm talking about comic books and shit like that? Yeah. But when I'm talking about this stuff, absolutely. So, Argentina, IMF bailouts of anything is all about confidence. You have to have confidence in your leaders for the bailouts. That is gone, especially the IMF, in my opinion. So Argentina, and then we have this. So yesterday was the discussion, and then today we have Argentine currency crashes to record low after debt restructuring plan. So the plan was announced, hey, look no further, the IMF is here to bail you out. Actually, to bail out your bankers who are owed the money, because they know if the bankers, if Argentina defaults on the debt, boom, the derivative bomb goes. As we detailed last night, Argentina's embattled government will ask the creditors, including the IMF, for more time to pay off $101 billion of debts, as the country struggles to avoid a ninth sovereign default. Who would, in their right mind, would lend money to Argentina? Those people looking for high yield. So if you can borrow at negative interest from the European banks, and you can lend it at high yield in Argentine debt, which you know will get bailed out by the IMF. It's quite a deal until it reverses, and the IMF is no longer wanted or needed in Argentina when the people finally realize this debt is all bullshit. Get rid of the debt, get rid of globalization, take care of your country and take care of your people. Issue new money. Use cryptocurrencies, which they're a long way to getting there. All the countries that struggle with the banking system are heavily into cryptocurrencies, and they should be, because they will be there the moment they are needed, whereas the IMF will not be. The World Bank will not be. All they do is destroy countries and steal hard assets. Hercian Lucianza, the finance minister on Wednesday, said confidently, the government is aiming to clear the outlook for the financial program in short, medium, and long-term horizon. This is due to short-term liquidity stresses and not due to problems with the solvency of the debt. That's bullshit. If you don't have the money to pay your debt, it is a problem with the solvency of the debt. But the currency market suggests investors are selling first and asking questions later. JP Morgan agrees. Oh, JP Morgan agrees. That must be. Warning that pressure on Argentina's international reserves may linger amid foreign exchange deposit withdrawals and dollarization of peso deposits despite the government's plan to extend debt maturities. Quote, a political gesture of the main opposition candidate and favorite to win the election is a necessary condition to break the prevailing vicious cycle that has taken a toll on reserves. Analysts Diego Piera and Lucia Barreto wrote in a note. So it's like Trump. Let's talk the market up. Let's talk the value of the Argentine peso up. It lasts for maybe 30 seconds. Especially because they're all saying it. Oh, you have to talk it up. That's ridiculous. By announcing the debt reprofiling late Wednesday, government aims to address short-term liquidity problems with the clear intention of safeguarding reserves, they write. JP Morgan says the reaction of local law debt holders is not clear, particularly if the Congress addresses the local debt reprofiling bill only after the October election. However, for now, judging by the collapse of the peso, traders are taking the, quote, fool me once, shame on you, fool me a ninth time, shame on me road. Yeah. So Yeah, I expect the Argentina issue not to be resolved cleanly. I expect that to follow into the derivative market. Usually takes 3 to 4 weeks for that to play out, and then you've got the huge problem. Where does that put us? Mid to late September, a derivative problem at every bank on planet Earth. Even if you don't have Argentinian debt, and I'll guarantee you a lot of that Argentinian debt comes out of the negative interest lending of the European countries. Keep an eye on Deutsche Bank and their derivative book. And this will put another wrench into the derivative machine, which is quadrillions of dollars. Who could have predicted all this? The Road to Roota, of course. So why don't you join the private road at the Road to Roota today? There's your sales pitch. I keep telling Amy, I'm a capitalist. I'm not a socialist. You're either a socialist or a capitalist. I'm trying to get her to charge for, at least get charged something for her, the 21-day cleanse that she puts so much time and effort in. She does accept tips if you go to the site, the second one there on the top of the Road to Roota page. But if you don't charge for what you do, you're relying on other people to pay for your food and water and take care of your kids. Don't be afraid to charge for what you do. Anybody in the crypto sphere. We are capitalists. We are not socialists. We are not socialists. We are capitalists. Anyway, if you want to help the Road to Roota, go hit subscribe today. And as a true capitalist does, I'm going to give you some bang for your buck. That would be, I'll give you 100 Theta tokens, 500 Theta fuel, and a silver Road to Roota coin. They are very scarce. So the ones that Bitcoin Ben giving away, I gave him 10 to give away, and he's giving my all in one fell swoop. Those are more valuable than a 1 ounce silver round. They got double strike luster with the numbering. I don't sell these to the public. I give them away to all the Road to Roota paid Road to Roota subscribers. So they're very rare, absolutely. And they're really cool looking. Look at that. That's coin 19 right there. They're all numbered on the bottom too. They cost a hell of a lot to make. I'm just saying. So yeah, I don't know the value of the 10 coins. It's going to be a lot because, I mean, at $2.99, that's almost $3,000 to get 10 coins in your hand. If you're joining the Road to Roota, and Bitcoin Ben's giving them away in his charity drawing. And Bitcoin Ben raises money so he can do these events. We are planning on a big summer next year. More to be rolled. I don't want to steal anybody's thunder, but we're going to go on tour with a bunch of our friends and go from town to town and talk and sing and blah, 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 and meet up with you. So you don't have to come to us. We're going to come to you. It's in the works right now, but yeah. I said, he asked me if I would do it. I said, hell yeah. That's the kind of fight I want to be fighting. Fight the good fight. Anyway, this is BigSquareRoadToRoota.com. Talk to you later.